let me just take a quick pause here. Can see the discussions going now towards the second topic any which ways. So I think I'll open that also right now because this is basically on consumer intentions and actions around sustainable lifestyle. That's what you guys have been discussing right now, I think, without realizing it. That's the thing that you have been talking right now. He's being, is there an alumni meet of Times going on? X Times, that's what I said. Alumni is what is people have moved on. So, you know, if they were in the college, they would have been like Arshad Warsi and all those in Golmaal. 4 साल हो गया लेकिन निकला नहीं, principal change हो गया. So those kinds. But that's what you're talking about. So let me just open the second topic. And those of you who have raised your hands, anyways, you have the choice because you are on table 2. So you are anyways going to start off. So I'll keep that on. And let me also say there is no break, but I'm not stopping you from taking a break. So this Chai Par Charcha will keep going on. So you can collect your teas, coffees, come back and discuss on your tables. So you're free to move in and out. So there's no compulsion that you need to sit. You can move in, or you could place your order and come back and sit inside and be a part. For the next 20 odd minutes, let's discuss on topic 2 and topic 3, because both are almost overlapping in terms of the thought process that you are going through, both in terms of decoding the growth potential and also in terms of the consumer intentions. And I can see that's where the chain of thoughts are leading all of you guys here. So feel free to pick up your teas and coffees and carry the conversation here for the next 20 odd minutes.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Kanika Mohan Saxena. I come from media and telecom. I currently work with Vodafone Idea, and I build digital first brands. My team here and I are talking about, what is the topic, guys? Yeah, it's pun intended for all right reasons. Consumer intention and actions around sustainable lifestyle. That's exactly how the consumer treats this as kya bola. How many of us came today to this beautiful venue in our own private cars? How many of us? That's it? Everybody else took public transport? Very impressive. I must learn something. 3 points I want to emphasize on. One is sustainable living a fad? Absolutely yes. Most brands and most consumers do not live or walk the talk. India as a country, like I was telling, does about 1.5 tons of waste every day, in which 95 lakh tons is from plastic, in which 40% is unprocessed. No, I did not read this online. I'm also a master scuba diver trainer, and I am India's second master scuba diver trainer, and I talk about ocean and climatic changes and how we can make a difference, and that's how I know it. Yeah? And I realized, and every time I promise you have gone into the back of beyond across the world, I've dove in the deepest of the oceans, and every time I come out, there are 2 bags which is filled with plastic and waste and which weighs more than my weight. We all are responsible for it. There are brands, there are people who turn back and say, मैं तो सिर्फ organic खाना खाती हूँ, मैं तो और कुछ खाती नहीं हूँ. But they use that wrapper which could be used, but it is not fun. There are consumers who turn back and say that, and insights actually, our country is one of the countries where we do not believe in community. Before I get short here, what do I mean by that? It's all about me, myself, my family, and mera next door neighbor. We do not believe in communities. That's why all of us Indians, most of us, go to Europe to look at a beautiful gaon, whereas our own gaons are very, very beautiful. And for that particular reason, we never ever look into how do you keep your own neighborhood clean? Can you sustain and use different kinds of waste? Most of us turn back and say, I'm 45, I'll be dead by another 10 years, how do I care? We've assumed that we'll be alive for another 10 years, we don't know. I actually can tell you that because I'm a cancer survivor. I've just finished my cancer treatment. So as healthy as anybody can be. And when it hit me on my head is when I realized, oh, sustainable lifestyle and choices. So now I read every wrapper, every food product which is written, and what is being eaten. Governments, our own government has done so many initiatives. Unfortunately, we do not follow them. I think it starts from us. Everybody can make a difference. One single person can make a difference to something as small as, I will today cycle to work. Now you will turn back and say, this woman is crazy, she wants to cycle to work in Bombay where you can't breathe. 50 people cycle to work, 100 people cycle to work, 200 people cycle to work. Somebody will notice at the end of the day and will ensure those roads are done or not. Second, when we talk about policies, etc., well, I'm going to talk here about a little bit about brands when we were talking on our table. How many of you really look into what do you eat or how do you dispose your food? Or do you leave it to your staff? Or, yes, you do look into what you eat. Fabulous. How you dispose. These are small, small things. How many of us make conscious choices of not using, for example, plastic? It kills. It's as simple as that. It's cheap, but it kills. Some people will turn back and say that, hello, you're privileged. Having safe lifestyle and having health is a privilege, nothing else is. Those are fine choices we make. The second, what I wanted to speak about is consumer education is must. And for that, we were talking on our table that if you go to Singapore, I'm certain most of you would be there, and if you took a cigarette butt and threw, not in a bin, you would be charged $200. How do I know this? I have paid fine for that when I smoked once upon a time. Small country, but sometimes when there is dire necessity, we need to do things which are uncomfortable. So educating the consumer, educating ourselves, educating people above, below, peer is something which is very, very critical, and we all can make that difference. And I don't mean to give this lecture here just because the topic was a very fancy. Even empowerment. I think the government requires campaigns where it empowers people who make changes. There are people who will always turn back and say, ये तो हो ही नहीं सकता, हमारी सरकारी जो है निकम्मी है. And then there are people who will say, hey, you know what, I'm going to walk that one distance, I will do. So I think what's important, which came out for us, is that it begins from you. It begins from you consuming, it begins from you educating, it begins from you empowering those who are around you. And if each of us and all of us change from our consumption, from our knowledge, from our spreading our knowledge, I think it will be easy to say that we all will be able to live beyond those 10 years. Thank you.
Each table has this plastic. If you go to Singapore, you get a jug on your table in a conference. You don't really get plastic bottles.
Yes.
So it means while Taj Hotel is here and they're talking about food planning and food journey and all, but from a FMCG manufacturer which is making Tic Tac and sending this here, this is going to end up in a landfill. This is not going to get recycled. Yeah, convenience. It's convenient. So while, yes, we are sitting and we're discussing sustainable brand, we're eating this.
Want to add, charity starts at home. If the government is actually doing something, it is up to us to actually implement that particular initiative or policy. But we are all governments of our own houses. Are we building that particular concept into our children? That's the most important thing, because that next generation is something that will take them forward. I have a 15-year-old son, a 10-year-old daughter, and we have some standing rules. As you very rightly mentioned, we don't eat out of a plastic box. We don't drink out of a plastic bottle. We don't throw food on the roads when we're traveling in a car. We just carry something along so that we can dump the garbage in it. But it's just the point is that we have to implement it at smaller levels to make a bigger change. And it is up to us.
Sorry, I will just digress a little bit from that. One thing is that, yes, plastic is a bit big pollutant, but if you have to think about what moves the needle in the world with regards to pollution, plastic is not that, is a relatively small thing. Can anyone guess what causes the biggest pollution to the world's oceans? It's not plastic. It's thought to be plastic, but it's not plastic. Yeah? No, not soap, not oil. Each of us in this room use it probably on a daily basis. Yeah? Not textile. Okay, let me just give the answer. It's your vehicle's tires. It is the biggest pollutant. Has anyone wondered how does your tire, go out of, stops working? The rubber, it just deteriorates into, and it deteriorates not into big pieces, into micro pieces. And that is the single most pollutant in the oceans today. And plastic is not that much, very little compared to this particular pollutant. So one other point is that probably I wanted to make is that a lot of things in our universe are counterintuitive. Our intuition is not able to grasp it. For example, one of the simplest things is that we live in a 4-dimensional universe. Space and time are the same, what relativity says. Evolution has not made us to grasp that. Our brains can only register 3 dimensions. In fact, it can register that only because we have evolved from apes. Because unless we saw 3 dimensions, we would fall out of trees and die. So there are animals who just see in 2 dimensions, like a deer. So a lot of things, when we decide how are we going to do sustainable things, sometimes our intuition won't help us. We have to really go and figure out and experiment and test and scientifically figure out what are the things that moves the needle most. Otherwise, whatever efforts we put on in something will not move the needle that much. It's not, they are not important. They're pretty important. They are a cause, but percentages matter. And it matters that we figure out which things are moving the needle most and also which things are most easily doable. Thank you. That's the point I wanted to make.
I have a question to Kanika and, of course, the rest of the group. So we're talking of ESG, right? There is so much talk about ESG today. And I want to just marry this to branding because that is what this conference is about. So I see so many companies, and as a matter of fact, I won't name the company. I work as a consultant with them, one of the big IT services companies, with Wipro and Persistent as their competitors. They use ESG as the brand kind of, hook. How is this, my question is not on ethics so much, but this has now become a way for companies to position themselves. Is it a right way to do, or ESG has to be a value system that should just, be on the side? I don't know.
Okay, I'm going to answer this in my own personal capacity. Ethically shouldn't be. And I'll answer your question from another question. I don't know how, did you notice last week somebody died and then was alive again, and then suddenly will now also be on the government face for cervical cancer? Do you know why that happened?
For awareness is what they say?
No. They already have 2 pharma companies who've tied up with this celebrity to raise this as shock value because this is one of the agendas of the government. Now, some might turn back and tell and say that, did anybody know about cervical cancer before? Very few people. And if they did, then it's not something which people talk about, right? We shy from speaking about it. So some people say it caused awareness, whereas some people will turn back and say it caused so much of anxiety. It caused so much of social taboo for women that even if they wanted to speak about it, they will not speak about it because women still give birth to children. And cervical cancer leads to not so. Coming back to your point. And that's why I said values are all dependent on people who are sitting in those chairs leading those brands. So in my personal capacity, I think it's unfair and I think it's incorrect.
I would like to add here, I'm from Schneider Electric, and we face this quite in a daily basis. I give you my own example, that one of the product we are launching, and the one guy, product owner, always excited. This is a green, this is sustainable. And then when I looked at the proof point, I was like, there are much more better products which more sustainable. So we took this is a very strict in-house thing. But coming to your point, like what Wipro or those companies do for ESG, see, most of the B2B companies, especially IT services company, when they go to win an order, they don't do it for consumer, they don't do it for me and you. They do it because now most of the European and US, the large company, they are asking most of the companies like us, Wipro and everything, what are your ESG stand? What is, and they have to publish in the balance sheet. And most of those data, like scope 1, scope 2, scope 3, because they are, will be scope 2 of, like if somebody is giving order to Wipro, Wipro will be scope 2, like supplier. Is my supplier ESG compliant? So for them, it becomes much more important. So I will not say that's greenwashing, but then again, I have example of Apple, who launched a iPhone 14, 12, 13, and they say they will not give a charger adapter. And the reason they gave that they are going to save trees because the box is smaller. It's not like they created a phone which doesn't need charging. You still go and buy a adapter from the market. That's greenwashing. That's where the dangers lie. And most of the company does. They put something that, they cut cost, they overprice, and they say, hey, we done this for environment. That's dangerous. I think that's where we all marketer needs to be very careful.
Valid point, yeah.
I mean, just to give a very desi analogy, the question you asked is something like, is it necessary to take a dip in the Ganga to wash your sins? Okay, so I mean, yeah, so you really don't know whether it works, right? But yeah, okay, I feel good about it at the end of the day that I am supporting a brand that is actually giving me these credits and is actually following ESG. Okay, so that's about it. Truly, what my friend here rightly said, it is actually about compliance for these brands. Okay, more than actually putting in the efforts to change the environment towards it.
Just to add on to that, hi everyone, I'm Kanika. I'm from International SOS. I head the marketing for Southeast Asia. Now, International SOS is right in middle of it. We are the ones who consult organizations, probably 85% of the Fortune 500 companies on their ESG goals. And trust me, the Fortune 500 companies, some of them maybe, you can pick names, but there are organizations who are cause-driven. They have identified their initiatives that they want to stick to. They are willing to invest billions, and why not? There is nothing wrong till the time you're getting these investments from these profit-making organizations. They take ownership, they take accountability. I work very closely with their marketing teams to make a sustainable marketing campaigns, awareness. We work very closely in public-private partnerships, including us as consultants, including organizations who are bringing funds to these campaigns, and governments of those particular areas, countries, etc. Just to give you an example, I mean, in India, dengue being one of the biggest concerns, health concerns. If you look at the amount of investment that is coming under ESG for dengue eradication, it is much higher than what any government could invest in. So it's a start, but it's a good start. And this is what we need. So some of the keywords that I can think of top of my mind is, of course, any sustainable initiative has to be a cause-driven initiative to make it matter at the end of the day. It has to be a long-term strategic initiative that any of us would even plan in our marketing campaigns or as a part of the business strategy. It definitely is compliance-driven, as my fellow friend said here. There is a lot of government implications. Even when you as a business are filing for an RFPs, you have to answer about 80 to 90 pages of your ESG goals or objectives. And there are compliances, there are penalties associated with it that we need to look at. So it is a business requirement at the same time. How many of us are aware of SDG goals from 1 to 16? Have us as an organization, are we aware how many of our organizations, which goal do we associate to? Is it SDG 3 for our organization, which is more of employee health and safety? Or it is SDG 8. So these initiatives are coming up. They're very strategic. It's good for each one of us to have more awareness and somehow get associated in one way or the other. And of course, they have to be incentive-driven to make a change, like any human behavior. Until they are incentive-driven, they don't have the impact on ground. So yeah, thank you.
Hi, Priyanka here. I'm from WNS. I operate in the B2B marketing space. And my take on her question is that I think sustainability is a choice, a personal as well as an organizational choice. So a very basic example that I would like to give is, here when in India we do events, physical events, we very happily, circulate around those printed brochures, magazines, so on and so forth. But the events that we typically participate in North America, Europe, we have seen this, that the buyers refrain from picking up anything that is printed material. They rather, ask to have a QR code or a video of your capabilities being played. And I think if they are taking these steps and cautiously making this choice, companies here in India also need to take these baby steps. And, we can also move our marketing, communication, promotions towards little more, sustainable measures, yeah.
Hi, my name is Ashish. I am a certified independent director. And as a part of becoming a certified independent director, I did a full course on ESG. Now, ESG, while I was going through various chapters of ESG, various course material, there are a lot of good things which people talk about, like everybody else has talked about, that you should look at environment, you should look at sustainability, you should look at good governance, but these are all fancy words. And as a part of the course also, it was very elaborately deliberated that while it is important to follow ESG principles, sustainability development goals, etc., all over the world, not only in India, all over the world, it's a huge world, and still ESG as an implementable practice is very, very minimal, very, very minimal. So while awareness is good, it is good to have, but at the same time, you see, if you take only India, we are a very small elite group here talking about ESG. And the government of India today, SEBI, RBI has also regulated only top 1,000 listed companies only need to provide ESG data in their annual reports as of today. 1,000 is, again, just a pinch of salt. So it is a long road ahead. We really have to go very, very long. We have to understand a lot. And it is practically very, very, very difficult to implement ESG on the ground. We are, like politicians understand that where is the vote bank? Vote bank is in Dharavi. Vote bank is along the railway tracks. Those are the people who have to be educated to understand the importance of not to use plastic. Can you do that? Are we doing that? We are not doing that. We are only talking amongst 1 or 2, 3, 5% of the people of the population in the country who are talking about not to use plastic, not to use some things which are environmentally harmful, etc., etc. So it's a long, long road ahead. While everybody, while it is good to know about ESG, but I think it is going to take maybe another generation for the ESG to actually get implemented, maybe another 50 years for the ESG to actually get implemented on the ground. In India and maybe the world, it will take much, much longer. So I think we really need to see where we are going to go.
I think I would like to add here. Is my mic working? Yeah. Yeah. So my name is Nidhi, and I work for Tata's. So I think sustainability for us has been embedded in our DNA even before it was a part of the SDGs. But I think the challenge we face is we do have a lot of governance. Every Tata organization has sustainability goals that we have to meet. So it's embedded in the culture. But I think the challenge that we face is the customer is not aware. The consumer is not aware. And the consumer is not looking out for products which are, which provide the right a better solution for their, whether it is a health or whether it is saving the environment. So that gap is, I think, our role as marketers become very important here, because we need to promote a lot of awareness to the consumers, because unless until the consumer demands those products, however sustainable a company is or sustainability goals the company has, it will not be able to deliver the right products to the consumer. So that's my bit.
Hi, Vishesh here from Bajaj. Though I won't get into the nitty-gritties of ESG since we have two experts here, but since you spoke from branding viewpoint, so as a marketer, I would respond on that. So quickly, one point that, see, branding something as ESG. The lady who started with, who's working with some agency which is part of ESG related stuff, she started by saying Fortune 500 companies, okay? So when you say branding, you know, at least whether they are actually doing it or not doing it is a second point. But at least by branding themselves, they are creating the awareness. So much so that people are talking about it. People are actually talking about whether they're doing it or not. So they have succeeded in the first point, that they have started the discussion, okay? Coming to the point which the lady made about the, you know, celebrity who spoke about death and other things, at least I'm not saying whether what she did was right or wrong, I'm not getting there. But at least sitting in this room, we are talking about that particular episode. So ESG per se, you know, branding is important. You know, there's a saying, lead by example, okay? So whether I'm doing it 1%, whether I'm doing it 90%, that's a process which will happen, you know, which will happen over a period of time. But at least we are consciously talking about it, so the first goal has been achieved. That's point number one. Now coming to my friend who spoke about how Apple is not doing the right thing, see, I beg to disagree with him here, because what happens is, they have put some logic into not giving chargers. Why? Because if 10 people are buying Apple, 6 of them probably are the people who are upgrading from, you know, Apple 13 to 14, okay? And I'm sure there are a lot of people sitting in this room also who have upgraded from 12 to 13 to 14 to 15, okay? Now what happens is, when you're upgrading, you already have a charger, okay? So now it has started changing. Now it has started changing. Now it has changed. Because they've got that particular thing. Are you saying that from Apple 10 to 15, every time the charger has changed? No. It has changed now. It has changed. Sir, all I'm saying is, since she spoke about whether ESG should be used as a branding tool or not, I'm saying yes, it should be used purely because, you know, it raises awareness. It, helps people talk about it. So we are achieving the first goal. And iPhone charger has changed now because they have changed the universal sockets, I-pin, C-pin, something, T-pin, they call it. Sir, I used the same charger for... Exactly.
All right, guys, guys.
So now they have changed it. That's why they don't, you know, provide chargers anymore.
Okay, I'll
Chalo,
just make a
Vishesh.
point.
Okay. Now let me just put a little pause here now. I think वो आप लोगों ने गर्मी ज़्यादा ही ले ली है. So it's getting more heated up, which is nice. So which is what we wanted to have. But कुछ conversations are like that, which can be taken offline. Maybe you could multiple, just 2 or 3 of you guys whom are getting into this. एक बार बात कर लो. So as the Speaker of the House, वो जो बोलना चाहते हैं वही कहते हैं. So let's I think table 2 and table 3 have got most of the topics in terms of their points, their views, and it has gelled very well with the audience also being a part of it. So I think the entire track of 1, 2, 3, and 4 are going pretty okay.